Hello, racers, and welcome to a brand new and our first official episode of Race in Review. The podcast started by a couple of sim racers that love Formula One racing and started this show as F1 in focus before we got in some trouble with the FOM, like some other Formula One teams do. On our YouTube channel, we bring you our opinions about the latest Formula One race and we predict the upcoming race as well. And oh, yeah, one of us supports Lewis, the other one supports Max, and we still get along in the wonderful world of Formula One. My name is John, and I'll be your host today talking about the race in Monza. And I couldn't do this alone, so I'm joined by the man with the best hair in the business. It's none other than the TIFOSI, James Hazel.
Hello, how's it going?
Hello, mate. Yeah, I need to explain the TIFOSI one.
You need me to do that?
Yes, sir.
All right. It's the TIFOSI, but British, and the British like tea, so TIFOSI. There you go. I'm sure it's not original. I'm sure someone's probably come up with it before, but yeah.
Yeah, so
that's me now, part of the TIFOSI.
Basically, James started selling TIFOSI shirts before the Formula One race in Monza. And how well did that work out, James? Suddenly, everyone's a TIFOSI.
Yeah, Monza was a good result for the fans of the red team, yeah.
Definitely. How do you like our new colors?
I love it. I love our new brand. I think it looks brilliant. Yeah.
Cheers. It's that's a big transition. Looking forward to it. Content's coming up. But yeah, we wanted to get this ready when we reviewed the new race. So a different skin, but the same show, I guess, right?
Yeah. Show's going to stay basically exactly the same for the Formula One,
yeah. Or does it? We'll find out in this episode. James.
Yeah.
We usually do 2 focus points. And with those 2 focus points, we also have an option to discuss the race. Shall we just start with focus point number 1 in Monza that has been won by Charles Leclerc?
Yeah, let's go straight into it.
All right. So focus point number 1. Charles Leclerc can still win the World Driver Championship.
Technically, yes. And I would love to see that if he did. It's a very outside shot, but he's kind of certainly helped himself with that win in Monza. 25 points, while Lando finished 3rd. Max finished 5th, 6th? 6th, I think it was, yeah. Ferrari need some strong results the rest of the season for this to happen, but the way it went in Monza, if we have similar races like that for the rest of the season, we could be in for a 3-way showdown, final race of the season. I mean, it would take a lot of luck for that to happen, but it would be exciting if it did. We haven't had more than 2 people involved in the championship fight for quite some time now, so yeah.
It would be really cool. Now, this was just also a little bit of tongue-in-cheek remark, honestly. Hats off to Charles, right? What a race.
Yeah.
Like 1 stop, nobody expected. They took a gamble, and I think the gamble was a pretty easy gamble to take, because if he still had to come on, he'd still finish on the podium, I think.
Absolutely, yeah. He had nothing to lose, yeah.
Just amazing. Is Monza the best podium in Formula One?
I think so, yeah.
I'm not even a Ferrari fan, and even I had tears in my eyes.
Yeah, I don't think you see that sort of passion anywhere else. And this is probably going to sound quite biased as a Lewis fan, but I think the next closest place is probably Silverstone when Lewis wins, because they let all the fans on the track as well, and then you see Lewis crowd surfing and all the rest of it after the race, and I think that's the next closest sort of celebration to Ferrari winning in Monza, I think.
Just forget about Zandvoort. It's okay, mate.
Yeah, but I don't feel like Zandvoort.
And you totally forgot the past 3 years.
I mean, it has a crazy atmosphere, but I don't feel like you don't see Max out crowd surfing and stuff like that, do you? He's not really into that side of it, I don't think. But
no, not at all. No, I was also, of course, joking. Now, in all reality, of course, McLaren drove a great race. Ferrari just hit everything. The strategy nailed it correctly. Sainz doing his part as well. Sainz having a terrific race.
Yep.
Finishing fourth, but he definitely helped Charles win this race as well, right?
Yeah, he slowed both McLarens down a little bit. And yeah, he just kind of ran his own race and ran it well. It was a good race for him. Yeah, it was a little bit disappointing that he didn't manage to finish on the podium, because I think he deserved it for how he drove. But all weekend really he wasn't as fast as Leclerc. But yeah, he did a great job. He did a great job for the team.
Can we be critical of Ferrari as well this weekend, or should no? Don't.
I think you're allowed to still be critical. I think any Formula One driver and team, because they're at that sort of level, would pick themselves apart for anything that they're not happy with, even on a weekend where they get a 1-2 and top every time session or whatever. There's always going to be scope for a little bit of nitpicking. So yeah, I think we can.
All right, here comes my nitpicking.
Yeah.
If you are Ferrari, if you go to Monza and you want to change liveries, suits, merchandise, I quite dig that they say, we all do black helmets. The helmets look absolutely fantastic.
Sciences in particular was a work of art, yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Really amazing.
Yeah.
James, the car, since it got the blue printer logo on it, has not been the same car. Last year they made a yellow with red Ferrari. Oh, that was amazing. Mm-hmm. Why did they stop with just one black spot on the car? And why?
I'd imagine
so much potential.
And I'd imagine it's probably got something to do with sponsors, and the logos need to stand out and stuff like that, and they design the car or the livery sort of around the sponsors as well, a little bit in mind, because they're paying a lot of money to be on the car. So I don't know whether that was anything to do with it, but the same thing happens with the fans every time. Everyone gets hyped about what's going to happen with the livery, and it almost never ends up looking as good as everyone thinks it's going to do. I think the only two exceptions to that are probably the Red Bull in Japan in white. That was a gorgeous livery. The Gulf McLaren at Monaco a couple of years ago, that was also gorgeous livery.
Yes.
Other than that, I mean, look at the Red Bull special liveries last year for, what was it, Miami? Was it maybe Singapore was one of them? They did like 2 or 3 like fan competition liveries, didn't they? And it was basically the standard livery with a couple of little swirly lines down the side of it in like Miami colours or whatever.
Pink lines, yeah. I have the car here somewhere. Not a real car, but model.
Yeah. So,
but this is the second time they tricked us this year, James.
I know.
We got a blue car with blue overalls. We got the blue logos on the Ferraris.
Yeah.
And then they just have a blue overall and they put a blue logo on the car.
I know.
This week was the week where they teased black and we go into Monza. I was all hyped. I was hyped for Ferrari, James. What's going on here? I'm printing TIFOSI t-shirts. I even wore a red shirt this week. Out of protest, I'm not doing it today. Then it's race day or race weekend, and it's like, what? There's nothing.
I know. I would put money on next year or the year after, while Lewis is there, that we get a black Ferrari at some point. I think Lewis will make that happen.
Okay, looking at my job prediction scores, I'm not taking that bet now.
He's part of the reason why Mercedes did the black livery for Mercedes for a while, because it was about awareness, and it was his way of sending a message, try and improve Lewis is off all that. So I do think while he's at Ferrari, something nice will happen with Ferrari, and I'm hoping it's a black car. It'll look great.
So that's just my little nitpick for the weekend. It wasn't my only frustration, but maybe we get into that later on the show.
Okay, yeah.
But that was definitely so much potential.
It was disappointing, yeah, definitely.
All right, focus point number 2. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Focus point number 2. We won't ever see a safety car again in Formula 1 this season.
No. Well, we will, but it'll be when he's
crashing
out
in
practicing
Thursday
and bins
practice.
Yeah.
7th race in a row without a safety car?
I wish I'd looked this up before we did this, because I'm curious actually what the record is for the longest stretch without a safety car in Formula One, because this feels kind of unheard of to me, at least. I can't think of a stretch this long with no safety car. It's just bizarre. I can't even remember when we had the last virtual safety car even.
Yeah, me neither. It was like I suddenly woke up to safety car being trending topic on a Thursday, and I'm like, wait, have I been asleep for like 48 hours here? What happened?
Yeah.
But apparently Mylanda crashed the safety car on the practice laps.
He did, yeah, in
Thursday.
Parabolica, yeah.
Which I can't even blame him. The car must be rusty.
Yeah, well, he doesn't. He only gets a limited amount of practice now, doesn't he? He doesn't get to do any actual driving during a race.
Yeah, I make fun of it, but we have like one person drop off again.
Yeah,
it's are people extremely safe, or is the current grid just extremely good?
Well, we don't have a Logan Sargent on the grid now.
Well, we did have him in the past 6 races, so that's not entirely fair.
That's true. Yeah,
and we still have Checo. So.
We still have Checo. We still have Stroll. Yeah, I think I don't know. Maybe there is an element of just driving a little bit safer because of the regulations, and if you knacker an engine or whatever, you're taking a massive penalty and stuff like that. So maybe there is an element of that, but I don't know. I think maybe it's just been one of those weird sort of perfect storm scenarios. I think
Monza. It's also not that we didn't get rain or something either, so it's just.
Yeah.
Like we don't get rain in Monza, but it's not like we only had 3 races either.
Well, normally we don't, but then before the race they started saying there was up to like a 40% chance of rain, and there was visible storm clouds kind of off in the distance that looked like they were heading towards the track potentially, or part of the track, but yeah, it never panned out in the race, of course. But yeah, it's just bizarre. I can't think of a stretch like this without seeing at least the safety car once, but yeah, drivers just seem to be like, I was going to say the Monza turn 1 there's very often an incident there.
Oh, they changed the curbs. I think that's half of the lead.
Well, they've ditched those curbs. That was a massive problem, and everyone just seemed to be very, very safe in there. I mean, we had our new guy Colapinto. He's not going to want to bin at first corner of his first race, is he? So he was probably playing it quite safe going in, and what a race he had, by the way.
Really good, yeah.
K-Mag, he's on. He needed one more point or whatever to get his race ban,
and he got it for something. I'm like,
well, he gets it in the end anyway. But he's maybe playing it safe going into turn 1. Guys at the front like Lando, Max, they've got to play it super cautiously because they're in a championship fight. Yeah, 10-4 or whatever it was. Yeah, Piastri was a little less concerned by that. Yeah, I think the only person who kind of went for it feeling like they had nothing to lose probably was Russell, who ended up coming worst off because he kind of got squeezed out onto the grass a little bit and lost his grip a little bit there as well. So, but yeah, it's just been clean racing, hasn't it? There's not been any.
Is there a coincidence that Max hasn't won in 6 races and there's not been a safety car for 7? No. I saw a tweet hinting at that. I was like, no. It's usually not Max causing the safety car, right?
No, not usually, no.
So was this going like that? I got a couple more though, if you want to get into it.
Yeah, sure.
Kimi Antonelli joins Mercedes. They want to announce the contract on a Friday after doing the first practice session. They give him soft tires to show he can be on top of the list. But James, unfortunately, what happens? He crashes his car.
Yeah, 2 laps in.
That was something else.
It's unfortunate, but I'm not going to read too much into that just yet.
No, me neither. I found it. Here was my statement. That's why I wanted to make a focus point of it.
Yeah.
Mercedes was wrong trying to force the announcement by getting him right out top on softs and not ease him into a weekend.
Yeah. I think there's an element of that. There's probably an element of nerves and adrenaline and excitement all combined together for him going out in a Formula One car in front of his home fans.
He already prepared his speech on a Friday afternoon, getting the contract.
Yeah.
And it was instead, well, I probably have to skip this press conference.
Yeah, he already knew he was driving for Mercedes next year. So yeah, I'm not going to read too much into that crash. I mean, his F2 performance this weekend was pretty good. Yeah, I am kind of excited to see his career. I'm excited to see him in Formula One, and the fact that he's jumping straight into a team like Mercedes, like we haven't had somebody do that in quite a long time. I mean, even Max started at Toro Rosso for a season and a half, didn't he? So, or a season and however many races it was. Yeah. Who else would there be? I mean, Hamilton went straight into McLaren. Who's done something like that since then? I can't really think of
nobody,
anybody.
I think.
No. You know, Leclerc was with Haas, was it?
Yeah, so it's an interesting...
Toro Rosso, yeah.
Do you think that if Max says, Toto, get me in, he's getting in, or do they stick to the drivers? And if they don't, who's going to get hit to the curb?
I think next year would be difficult. I mean, Mercedes have already waited so long to make this announcement, and they've been trying as hard as they can to get Max. I mean, it sounds like Max can't. I mean, well, he can technically, anyone can, but I think it'd be difficult for him to get out of Red Bull next year. I think everything sort of hinged at one point on Helmut Marko's contract or whatever, or he's tied to Helmut Marko. But then Helmut Marko's signed a new deal, hasn't he, for a couple more years with the team.
Yeah, but Max doesn't seem particularly happy anymore.
He doesn't seem happy at all, no. But I think if he was going to move over, I think he would have had to have done that earlier in the season. I think as much as he's not happy with the car and the team at the moment, I think he's effectively committed himself to at least doing next year with them by not sort of trying to leave the team sooner. Because Mercedes was basically the only seat available to him. They filled those two seats. I mean, one of them was already tied up by Russell anyway. They've signed Antonelli in, and I think if they were going to let anyone go, they'd let Russell go.
Yeah, would be my opinion as well.
Because I don't think they want to miss out on losing Antonelli if he does turn out to be this superstar in a few years' time. So I think it'd be Russell that would go. And to be fair, Russell's, I mean, he is a good racer, but Hamilton's not having the greatest of seasons this year, and he's still behind Hamilton in points. He's out qualifying him, but when it comes to race results, it's not really going Russell's way very well. So yeah, I think it would be Russell that would go. He wouldn't really have anywhere to go if he did, other than a driver swap with Red Bull. But I don't think that's going to happen. I think maybe 2026 with the new regulations, that would be when Max moves.
Yeah, I don't think Max, if this car, if this continues like this, and he would lose out of the World Driver Championship, I don't see him driving a year at Red Bull in midfield. Just don't.
I mean,
he's stubborn.
I know. I wouldn't. I'd be surprised to see it as well. But where's he going to go and how are they going to do it? I think, like I said,
if he calls Toto, he's in, man. There's no doubt.
Yeah, the only option is a driver swap with Russell.
Well, Red Bull still has Lawson. That is promised a seat for next year, though. Still.
Yeah, but Toto. I mean, Toto
with Yuki having a contract.
Yeah.
Extended. So.
Yeah. I don't know then. Yeah, I don't
speculation.
Yeah,
we can't say anything about it.
I mean, Toto does try to look after drivers, doesn't he? You know, look at how he tried to look after Bottas and stuff like that when he got swapped out. And I think he would do the same for George. I think if it came down to it and George was the guy to go to make way for Max, I think he would try to secure George's at least short-term future. So I think they would want it to be some sort of driver swap and sort of contracted to he stays in the seat. Because if Max is verbally kind of saying I want to leave, Toto's got all the chips really, and he's got all the bargaining power he needs because Red Bull are losing Max anyway, so Red Bull have just got to kind of take what they can get.
True.
So
we're in an interesting spot.
Sorry?
We're in an interesting situation here.
We are. It'd be interesting if it happens, but I don't think it will.
I've not seen Max this unhappy since his Renault engine blew up 7 times in a season.
Yeah. Yeah. And the next question is, why have Red Bull slowed down so much?
That's a good one.
Okay.
Why have they?
I mean, there's a lot of talk about this regulation change about the asymmetrical braking stuff that's been written into the rules, and then Red Bull is suddenly slower. The other cars have caught up. We can't ignore that fact. If you look at like the lap times and the qualifying times between this season and last season, a lot of the other teams are basically at the speed Red Bull were last season now, or faster. People have caught up, but Red Bull have gone from being a dominant force to like 5th or 6th finishes.
There's something else though, I think, as well.
Yeah.
I think regulations could be definitely it. They're now looking at McLaren's front wing with all the teams. I think that might change as well.
Could do.
It's okay. Let me focus on Red Bull first, because the other one is something I do want to discuss for a short while. Is this weekend, everything that could go wrong at Red Bull did go wrong as well. They had an amazingly bad stop at Red Bull. They never had bad stops. 6.5 seconds or something. Max smashing his wheel.
Yeah, it was like 7 seconds, yeah.
Max's engine collapsed during the race. He has an engine failure.
Yeah,
and
they say power, didn't he? Yeah.
They say put the power back in mode, etc., just to make sure it doesn't go. So it's driving on, let's say, 90 or 80% power on the fastest track there is. So that doesn't help, right?
Yeah.
Then there is an issue which really, where I had this like, did I hear that correctly? They say to Max, put on engine mode, etc., whatever. They say, I don't know which code. Let's say engine mode code papaya. And then they were like a couple of laps later, like 10 laps later, Max says through GP, hey guys, I know I'm in a pretty bad position. I'm translating here to keep the podcast nice. We're in a bad position, and I know it's boring and I know it sucks, but it is important. Can you at least tell me when I can put the power mode back on?
Yeah.
And they say, oh, you can do that now. Sorry, Max. What?
Yeah.
They were asleep? What's this? It's not only a mistake, it's not only the car not working, but it's half the team falling asleep during a race like this.
That's a massive.
It's something I've never seen before Red Bull.
Yeah. I mean,
and I wrote it down. I was like,
the only person I can think is wrong on that is got to be GP, surely.
I mean, just for sure, but like it must be so frustrating if you're like the world champion, helping the team carry the car across the line so long now, and you have to keep the team awake. And Max saying afterwards, like, they're not listening to my feedback. I said this from day one with this car. We were lucky the other teams didn't catch up yet. That's the only reason we got a lead in. It's so frustrating that they're falling asleep. The pit stop went wrong. Well, everything went wrong. I'm not winning the world championship anymore.
Yeah.
If your star driver says that 8 races before the end, yikes.
Yeah.
And he's not tongue-in-cheek either. So when he says things like this, he doesn't mean it.
No, he doesn't. He doesn't mix his words. He's very straightforward, and he says it like it is. Does Max definitely? Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's an element of this probably potentially falling back to this changing the rules. It does seem very much like Well, there wasn't even a change in the rules. It was just when Ferrari just suddenly slowed down in 2018 or 19, whenever it was, when they were, they're in a championship fight with Lewis. There was loads of teams questioning, like, oh, if we did this, would this be legal? And it was stuff to do with like fuel and stuff like that. If we did that, would it be legal? If we did this, would it be legal? And then suddenly, I think there was Mercedes and Red Bull were asking these questions, and then suddenly Ferrari slowed down. So they were obviously, or maybe not obviously, but they were
They were. It's just how the game works.
Yeah.
You read the rules, you interpret a way to work around that.
Yeah.
It takes a couple of races where you just beat everyone else.
Yeah.
And then the other team's like, how do they do this? I think they must do it like this. Oh, if you check the rules, that actually might not be illegal. Do we put time into developing the same thing, or do we want to rewrite to put better wordings on paper to make sure that's not legal?
This is where I think Mercedes, at least historically, is a better team than a lot of other teams. Because think about DAS.
Mm-hmm.
They went to FIA before testing even started, and they said, if we did this, would that be legal? And they looked at it and they said, well, by the way it's written, actually, yes, it would be legal. And then they implemented it. And then they show up at testing. All the other teams are looking at that saying, like, what the heck? And then they go to the FIA and basically say, that's not legal. And then they turn around and say, well, actually it is because of the way it's written. And we're going to close that for next season because we don't actually want that. That was an unintended thing. But we've already said that it's legal, so we can't really change it now because for something like that as well, Mercedes had to kind of design the cars to some extent around that. And that's why no other team could really play catch up because no one could make those changes during the season. So, if Red Bull have implemented something that has now become illegal, and that's what slowed them down, then maybe they should have gone and asked the question first. If that's assuming they didn't, maybe they did, and they were told it was fine, and now they're being told it's not. Who knows?
That's the same thing what's happening now with McLaren, where Ferrari, Mercedes, and Red Bull are saying there's something off with the front wing.
Yeah.
If you look technically at the rules, it looks like it's legal. They come through the test, but we just want to make sure we can do this as well.
Now, technically, this happened with Red Bull in 2010.
Yeah.
Around that time with Vettel.
Mm-hmm.
And they had the whole flexi front wing thing. Flexi front wings have been, it feels like
always.
It's been a part of Formula 1.
Can you explain it for people new to Formula 1? Why flexing your front wing helps?
Or well, effectively, kind of, it's almost like DRS for your front wing. It flexes the front wing to a point where it's reducing drag and moving the airflow lower and just makes the car more aerodynamic, so you get better straight line speed. But then when you brake, you don't have the forces of the aerodynamics pushing the wing down. It lifts itself back up to its normal position,
giving you more grip,
and then you get your grip back. So it's sort of a very kind of
it's an inverse DRS in your front
complex version of DRS at the same time for the front wing in some ways. Yeah.
And how do they test if a wing is not flexible?
They just put, well, I think it's still the same, isn't it? Or they just put weights on it to see how much it moves.
Sandbags on it, yes.
Yeah.
So on a not moving car, they put sandbags on the front wings to see how much it flexes. Yeah. So if you have it designed strong enough to not move under the test, but you design it smart enough to move a hefty amount while driving.
That's where clever engineering comes in, because maybe they can apply it in such a way that flex happens when the force is coming from the different side than from the front, rather than just putting something on the top. Yeah, I mean it's very clever. This is what Formula 1's been about for years, and yeah, I mean going back to 2010, or I think it was 2010, Red Bull getting told or getting complaints about a flexible front wing. They weighed, or they put the weights on it. It didn't move, or it didn't move enough to be out of the regulations. But then they changed the testing.
Yes.
And the change in the testing then did make it illegal. So there is precedent to change mid-season on this.
And here is my problem with the whole Formula 1 way of working in these things.
Yeah.
Because so far everything makes sense, and so far I'm glad it works like this, right? You exploit something that's written down in a good way, in a fair way. They change it so that can't be done anymore, or they must make sure everyone can catch up on the same way. I think that's a fair estimate, and that's fair to do, right?
Yep.
If the team that's being investigated is walking away with a championship, it gets changed pretty fast. We've seen that Ferrari, we've seen that Red Bull, we've seen that Mercedes, except for the DAS situation. But usually halfway through the season, during the summer breaks, it gets changed.
Yeah.
This time around, it's the number 2 team catching up on number 1 team. And apparently, if I listen to FORZA, Toto Wolff, Horner, they've been saying this for weeks now, and the FIA is looking into it.
Yeah.
Isn't this a way of not trying to interfere with the competition against the sporting behaviors? Is this a fair way of doing it? Shouldn't there be a precedent on you have 1 week of researching or whatever to do that? Isn't this taking too long now to actually make a statement? I'm not saying that it's not legal, right?
Yeah.
But it can't. Let's say this takes 6 more races, and then they change it, and it seems that it could have be. We're not looking at a fair competition at that point.
Yeah, but what if they change it? McLaren actually end up faster, kind of like when.
Then it's a fair deal. But I think taking it too long is my issue with this. It feels like they wanted to make a championship fight, and therefore not saying anything yet.
I find it difficult to get into a conversation about how rules are applied and how it affects the championship after 2021. Basically,
I mean, I totally there's get a lot of I totally get that, and I mean, it's also looking off from a fan perspective. But I think if you look at it from a sportsmanship perspective, shouldn't there be rules in place to address these things with evidence and get a ruling into a certain?
I mean, if they're playing this game to make the championship more exciting because they don't want a repeat of last year.
I'm not saying it's the case. It might not be the feeling case. That
it does. Yeah, it potentially does start feeling that way. But this
sucks for McLaren as well, right? You don't want to win people when people think you have an illegal car as well.
Yeah, it just highlights a bigger issue with Formula One. The fact that we're even thinking this just kind of cements the fact that
the FIA doesn't know what they're doing half the time.
Yeah, they don't know what to do, and sometimes they're quite happy to turn a blind eye if it's going to make the product, which is the racing, which is what gets people viewing it on TV, more exciting. Unfortunately, that is just Formula One. I mean, Bernie was trying to do that all the time when he was in charge of Formula One. So this idea of sort of manipulation or whatever, we're never going to escape it unless the people in charge start applying the rules consistently, and they never do, and they just seem like they never will. So it's unfortunate because it does kind of leave a bad taste a little bit. That the fact that, like I said, the fact that we're even thinking and talking about this.
Sorry.
It really is just a statement about the state of Formula One in general, and that is that it's kind of got a history for this, and we're just questioning whether history is repeating itself again.
I'm all for bringing the fight, right? Don't get me wrong there.
Yeah.
But it sometimes feels during a season there's so much changing in the rules and so much. That it feels like they're forced. Like, how often has it happened that halfway through a season things change? We have the first win, the second World Championship for Max, where he was fighting Leclerc until the summer. Afterwards, done and done. Yep. Last year, I mean, nobody could catch up, so that's a different story. Yep. But it happens so many times where the situation you get after summer break is so much different than the situation you have for the summer break.
Yeah,
and it's not because they can't do anything during the summer break even. So it's not something the cars did. It's something the rules changed.
They get one week of the 3-week break, don't they? So they can still be working a little bit, but the factories have to close down for 2 weeks during that 3-week break or whatever it is, don't they? So
And it's not the end of the world, but it's just something I keep coming back. I'm like,
Yeah.
It makes the prediction game a little bit harder though, because that's fun.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? By the time the next race starts, they might have actually changed something, and suddenly McLaren are slower, and all of our predictions are in the bin.
Exactly. So we'll see.
I don't know what we're going to get, but
one more focus point before we dive into our predictions, shall we?
yeah, okay.
Red Bull is now number 1 in the championship, leading with a whopping 8 points to McLaren, and McLaren leading with a whopping 31 points over Ferrari. So that means a 39 points between McLaren and Red Bull and Ferrari even.
Yeah.
So I am pretty confident Red Bull is not winning the World Constructor Championship anymore.
I don't think they
But
are.
will Ferrari or McLaren take it?
I think McLaren's going to take it. I think based on the last few races, they're more consistent. I suppose it depends a little bit on, because Ferrari did bring a lot of upgrades to Monza. They often do. And they often do everything they can to win Monza. Sometimes they focus entirely on that race, and then the rest of the season just carries on as normal.
Yeah.
So,
and Azerbaijan is an outlier track, eh? So
yeah, I think McLaren are going to win this. I'd be surprised to see Ferrari if they've made that sort of jump. I mean, if
it's a tiny gap.
Yeah, Zandvoort, we had Max finishing 22 seconds behind Lando Norris, and then Leclerc finished how far behind Max? To make that sort of jump, it just doesn't seem likely, no matter what they've done.
True.
This is a sport of fine margins, and eventually you hit a point where you just start to near enough flatline with development, because you just reach the point where you've got the maximum efficiency out of whatever the regulations are at the time. So, yeah, I think I don't for the Constructors' Championship, I don't think Ferrari's going to win it. No. I think they have a very strong chance of beating Red Bull, especially because Red Bull decided to keep Perez.
And the car went downhill a little bit.
Well, the car's gone downhill, but Max can drive any car fast, and he might not be able to get a win out of it, but he will get the best that cair is capable of. Look at Zandvoort, he finished second. He's McLaren was clearly the faster car there, but he still beat Piastri, he still beat Leclerc. So, he's got potential to get very good results, even in a not so good car. Perez doesn't have that. Perez hasn't won a race since Miami last year.
No.
And how many times has he been on the podium this year? Even he's just nowhere. This is kind of 2022 again, where you've got, or the first half of 2022, where you've got 4 teams that on any given day have probably got a chance of winning a race. But
pretty exciting though.
You've only got 7 drivers that have got a chance of winning that race.
No, it's not like Perez
even
finished
Zach Brown
8
made
this
that
week.
Comment.
Oh wait, he did.
Zach Brown on the grid this weekend.
I wouldn't say even Zach Brown. He just makes comments about Red Bull.
But he he what did he say? He said something like, there was only 2/10 between however many places on the grid. It's going to be very close. And then it was something along the lines of anyone from the top 7 has got a chance of winning this. Perez was in 8th on the grid. He doesn't think Perez is going to win it.
Well, he started 8th, finished 8th again this week. So
yeah. After
Perez even said, I think it's weird seeing the gap between me and Max not being bigger. He literally said that.
Yeah, well, Max had an issue with his power, and he had a really slow pit stop. What did Perez have wrong?
Well,
he had a bit of a fight with Russell. That was about it. And some of his comments were just.
Let's not talk about Perez.
He's just
skip this week. James, into predictions, shall we?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, so each and every week we predict the upcoming race. We get a point if we get it right. We have a bonus question. And if you have the bonus question right, you get another point. James, the current standing is a whopping, let me check, I actually don't know the current standing. That's
very close.
Very good. I think it was 23 to 21 in your advantage. Yes,
Sounds
23
right,
21. Yeah. You said the pole is going to be for Charles Leclerc.
Yeah.
And I said it's going to be Orlando.
Yeah.
I won.
You did. Yeah, well done.
23 22. Then you said, yes, but the win is going to be for Leclerc. And I said, Piastri is going to win this, right? I almost won, but you did
very
win.
Close.
You got Leclerc right.
I knew it in my heart. I said last time, my head said Lando, but my heart said Leclerc.
Yeah, well, my everything said Piastri, so.
I was just so happy to see that win there. Yeah.
DNF, I gambled for Norris. Almost got me right there on turn 4. But
yeah,
it was, you said Ocon. It was, however, Yuki getting knocked out by, was it Magnussen?
No. Was it Magnussen? I've already forgotten. They collided, didn't they, in the first turn?
I don't know if it was. But anyways, Yuki collapsed, so no points for us there. A bonus question with a standing of 24 to 22 in your advantage is, we said, the difference between both Mercedes at the end of the race in places. You said 1 place difference, and I said 2 place difference.
Yeah.
Lewis finished 5th and Russell finished 7th, so there's a 2 place difference. So I won.
You did.
The current standing, James, is 24 to 23 going into Azerbaijan. Getting close,
isn't it?
We are getting very close. It started getting closer after I stopped predicting Max winning everything already. James, for Azerbaijan.
Yeah.
Baku. Fun track, fast track, short middle sector with very tiny corners. You pass on the straight. That's probably it. We used to get safety cars there. We don't
have a safety car anymore, do we? So
safety car doesn't exist in Formula 1 anymore.
Whatever happens, there won't be a safety car because they just don't bother with it anymore.
You can predict first, I think, this week.
Okay.
Who's going to get pole?
Lando.
I need to get a point back, but I'm also thinking Lando should win. Should fall. I'm saying Lando as well. Sorry, man. All right. Who's going to win it?
I'm very tempted to say Leclerc again.
Ooh, I'm going for Piastri.
He doesn't do very well near the castle, though, does he? Or whatever it is.
I did it once. He got a meme out of it. That's all good.
Yeah, I think everyone's been it at
when the sim, perhaps. Yeah.
Yeah. I think I'm going to go with Norris again.
All right. I'm going to go for Piastri.
Okay.
Because I think we have something to discuss the next time in the McLaren powerhouse.
Yeah.
Because Piastri is not going to be a driver number 2, and he's definitely not going to give up as easily, I think.
Yeah.
But that's a topic for another discussion. James, the first DNF in Baku is going to be?
Who is it going to be?
So much harder when you don't have Sargent on the grid anymore, does it? There go all our US listeners.
K-Mac's got his ban, so he's not going to either wipe himself out or somebody else. And he's pretty good at that on a street circuit.
Bearman is in.
Yeah, probably
most likely.
Probably, yeah. Who do we think he'll be? I'm going to go with Tsunoda.
Ooh, Yuki.
He's going to have another bad race. He's getting very frustrated lately.
Yeah, here's mine. I wanted to say Guangzhou, but then again, I don't know if he's actually racing anymore. I think he's just running in circles, enjoying the last couple of races or something.
Yeah.
Not sure what's happening there.
Unfortunately, both the Saubers are pretty much doing that, aren't they?
So I'm going to go with none other than Ocon.
Ah. Yeah, he's usually my pick, but
yeah,
he's been doing all right lately.
He's been fairly.
I like how neither of us went with Colapinto.
I think Colapinto just wants to stay safe and just get experiences in. He's got 7 races or 8 races now left to show he could be Formula 1 material. He's already knowing he's not driving Formula 1 next year.
Yeah,
pretty much.
Yeah.
You don't want to be remembered for your crashes. You want to be remembered for your consistency.
Absolutely.
Get sponsor money in and then go. So
yeah, he just needs clean races, and he did brilliantly at Monza. He finished 12th, didn't he?
yeah,
Started something like 18th. So
well, that's like perfectly fine. You get your sponsors, you get your camera moments.
Yeah.
Worst case scenario, you go into another class next year with tons of sponsors in your backpack.
Yep.
Worst case, you're the reserve driver next year somewhere, and you get to fill in.
Yeah.
If you crash everything, you will be remembered as the eagle as well. So you don't want that. James, bonus question. I said last week, but if you want, I can also have an idea for this week. So
no, I'll do this one.
Right.
So because it's a street circuit, surely we will get the safety car.
That's my question as well.
But if we don't get the safety car, we surely at least get the virtual safety car. So how many times do we think the virtual safety car will be deployed?
Twice.
Twice.
Yes.
Okay. I'll go with once.
Yes. I knew you would have said that then. BC, 2 for John and 1 for Jim.
Yeah.
All right. 24-23. This is getting exciting. And if you're new to the show,
close.
at the start of the season, we predicted a lot of other things that happens at the end of the season, as which team gets sold first, which manager gets fired first, who's going to win the championships, etc. For all of a whopping 25 points for each question. I think we did 10 or 11 questions, James. Something like that.
We did quite a few. We've got them written down somewhere, but not in front of me now, so I can't tell you how many we did. But there was a few questions.
So there's definitely room for a little bit wiggle at the end.
Well,
thank you so much. I want to ask you guys and girls for a favor. We have a new channel, of course. That means we don't have a YouTube channel that's named for us yet, and we need some subs for it. Subs are free. Subs only take you like 1 second to do so. I think James could do faster, but I'm not. As we've definitely figured out, I'm not the fastest driver of the two of us. So if you could follow the link, find this show, drop us a subscription on the YouTube channel. We will be forever grateful. At least we will put your big thank you when we get to name the channel. So please check out Racing Review, find it, give us a thumbs up, and give us a little subscription. Would mean the world for us to get this thing going. So thank you in advance.
Yep.
We'll be back in 2 weeks with this show after Baku.
Yep.
And we'll be, probably uploading some content on the YouTube channel shortly. So thanks in advance. See you in 2 weeks, James. Have a good one. Bye-bye.
Bye.